They insult us, they threaten to annex us, then wonder why we're not coming back. I didn't start this channel for views. I started it because I was sick of the US media pretending none of that matters. Maybe 2 out of 10 reports even mention the 51st state rhetoric. And when they do, it's brushed off, dismissed like we're overreacting, like Canadians are supposed to just get over it. Well, today, I've got 2 more reports. US businesses hurting without Canadian tourists. And surprise, they're blaming tariffs again. One of them even tries to downplay how important we are. Says domestic tourism is making up the loss. If that's true, why are you launching currency exchange promotions to get us back? So I'm putting the clips in front of you. Watch them closely, and tell me what vibe you're getting. Because from where I sit, they still don't get it. Let's get into it.
We move on. This time of year, Lake George usually filled with tourists, but this year, they're seeing fewer Canadians. CBS 6's Sam Israel looks at what the town is now doing days before the start of summer.
I'm told by some shop owners that Canadian tourists are vital towards the Lake George economy over the summer months. And don't just take their word for it. One of the main roads in Lake George, literally called Canada Street. But so far this summer, some say they've seen fewer visitors from up north.
It's less compared to a lot of years.
Does that worry you as a business owner when you're not seeing as much Canadians in Lake George? Mustafa's family manages 2 souvenir shops on Canada Street and says Canadians typically make up a large part of their customer base.
I've been here for like 2 months right now. I've been seeing only for like 5, 6, 10 people coming in, Canadians.
How much do you usually see?
I usually see a lot more than that.
Now, just to clarify, this isn't the clip where they claim domestic tourism is filling the gap. That's coming up next. But this one, you've got a store manager in Lake George who's clearly noticing fewer Canadians. And yeah, it sounds like he misses the money we used to bring in. I'll talk more about him in a minute.
Lake George Mayor Ray Perry says he hears the concerns, but points to new groups filling the gap.
We have a Southern Asian group that has really shown of great interest in Lake George.
Perry says Canadian tourists make up about 5% of the local economy.
Tourism is our only economic driver here. We don't have any other industry, so it is of the utmost importance.
Gina Mincer from the Lake George Regional Chamber of Commerce says impact varies by the type of business.
We've had a couple of campgrounds tell us, we've always been heavily Canadian focused, and we're pivoting just like we did back in COVID when they couldn't come across the border.
So this guy says Canadians only make up 5% of their local economy. 2 scenarios. That might be true, or it might be a nice way to downplay how bad things actually are. But fine, I'll take it at face value. If we're only 5%, then why is the mayor on camera practically begging us to come back? You'll see it for yourself in just a few seconds.
Still, officials remain optimistic, with events coming up like Juneteenth weekend, the Adirondack Wine and Food Festival, and July 4th. So as the mayor of Lake George, what's your message to Canadians considering making a trip down to this area?
We love Canadians, the Canadian people. They're our biggest trade partner. Come. Keep coming. We love you.
I love talking to people. I love learning. I talk French to them. I do anything. We just have a laugh, just it's fun.
So the mayor says he loves Canadians and wants us to keep coming. We all know what that really means. We need your money. Now back to the shop owner. He actually sounds concerned. You can hear it. He's feeling the loss of Canadian visitors. And yeah, I get it. His business is probably hurting. But here's where I pause and step back. Even if he's in a blue state, I can't ignore the numbers. Look at this chart. New York voted blue, but over 3.5 million people still voted for Donald Trump. So unless business owners start posting who they voted for, with proof, we'll never know if this guy supported the same policies that pushed Canadians away. Because if he did, then this is exactly what he voted for. And like I said, he's just an example to make the point. But I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. Do you agree with this take? Let's move on to the next report.
Summer is, of course, a time of travel for many folks, and in the Fingerlakes region, it remains a hot spot for weekend getaways, attracting visitors from across the world. However, some nearby resorts are seeing less patrons from Canada this year compared to last. Ryan Hermanet spoke with travel experts about the contributing factors and filed this report.
New data released by U.S. Customs says that less people are crossing the border between upstate New York and Ontario, Canada, with some nearby hotels seeing less Canadian visitors this summer compared to previous years. But could domestic travel make up for the loss? The local travel experts I spoke with say yes. Ame Palomini at the lake house on Canandaigua explained how summer is the busiest time of year for their resort. Their hotel is sold out most weekends due to various weddings and events hosted on site. But they have noticed less visitors from our northern neighbor.
So international travelers aren't a huge audience of ours to begin with. We have seen a slight dip in Canadian travelers, maybe 5 to 10%.
And this trend doesn't come as a surprise. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, there was an estimated 25% decrease in people crossing the upstate New York Canadian border in May of this year compared to May of 2024. U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer recently attributing the increased tariffs as the reason for this decrease.
This, right here, is why I started this channel. What Chuck said, flat out wrong. And arrogant as hell and even ignorant. What really gets me? Chuck isn't even on Team Trump. If he wants Canada, or the rest of the world, to back the Democrats, he's got to stop dodging the one thing no one wants to say out loud. You have to address the damn elephant in the room. Now let's rewind to earlier in the report, because this next part doesn't add up. Here's the setup. A local travel expert says domestic tourism can fill the gap left by international visitors. But then the hotel owner says Canadian traffic is down 5 to 10%. Meanwhile, border data shows a 25% drop in Canadian crossings overall. So, which is it? Keep that in mind as we move forward.
And many of these folks are travelers who would normally visit the Fingerlakes.
There's still an element of uncertainty with the tariffs, even in the moment. And when people are uncertain, they can take a pause on a number of things, and that includes travel. We're seeing some evidence of that with Canadians coming to the U.S.
But Gruba says this loss is being made up for by those who want to get away close to home, with inter-American travel being the strongest it's ever been.
What we're seeing is that people are prioritizing travel, that they will look to save in other ways, other areas, to make sure that they have money to take that time away, that much needed time away from work, either on their own or with the family.
You sound pretty confident that domestic tourism is going to save you. But I've heard this before. Earlier this year, it was, we'll be fine. We don't need the international tourists. Then a few months later, where did the Canadians go? Now you're saying people will just cut back on other things so they can still visit your lake. But for how long is that supposed to work? Let's be real. Your economy's not in great shape. And for a lot of locals, even basic necessities are getting priced out. What you're missing, and completely underestimating, is the power of international travelers. People who aren't tied into your local economy. People who don't need to cut corners just to make a trip. People who don't need to save up their paid time off. They're ready to travel. They're ready to spend. But if you're sure domestic tourism has it covered, then hey, good luck. You're going to need it.
Palomini says so far this season, the lake house is seeing more close-to-home visitors, but their team hopes to find new ways of attracting Canadian travelers as the year progresses.
Canada is very close, especially in the winter for ski season. That's really important for us. We do have, a Canadian rate that takes into account the exchange rate to kind of attract those travelers.
Sorry, but a Canadian rate isn't going to bring us back. Not the way you think it will. And just a reminder, we've got ski slopes too. But hey, at least it's not 3 free golf balls this time. You can feel businesses scrambling for anything that might get us back. For me, there's only one thing that would even start that conversation. Get Taco Man out of the White House. But even then, let's not forget that chart we saw earlier. New York might be a blue state, but millions still voted for him. Trump is just one guy. 77 million people cast their vote for him. There was only one name on the ballot, and they chose that one. That's why I don't agree with people saying places like Maine should become Canada's 11th province. You're not just taking land, you're taking in millions of Trump supporters. And for me, that's a hard no. So here's the takeaway. Travel within Canada, go to Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Latin America, Asia, anywhere but the US. Because they don't want you. They just want your money. If this message resonates with you, hit like and subscribe. It helps spread this to more Canadians who need to hear it. And if you're still here, check out the next videos on screen now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.